Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. Killian Marks straightened his tie in the rearview mirror of his truck. 8 years in the Army Rangers had taught him precision in all things, even the way he dressed for dinner. He reached across to the passenger seat and picked up the small package wrapped in brown paper. Through the window of Emilio's, he could see Marley already seated at their usual table, staring at her phone. 8 years of marriage. Killian took a deep breath, tucked the package under his arm, and stepped out of his vehicle. The hostess greeted him with a smile. "Mr. Marks, your wife is already seated." Killian nodded and made his way through the dimly lit restaurant. Marley didn't look up until he pulled out his chair. Her smile seemed practiced. "Sorry I'm late," he said, settling into his seat. "The last class ran over." "It's fine." Marley tucked her phone into her purse. "How many people showed up for wilderness survival on a Wednesday night?" 14. 2 more than last month. Marley nodded, her eyes drifting to the menu, though they'd been here dozens of times. "Business is good, then." "Getting better." Killian studied his wife's face. Something was different tonight. Her usual animation seemed forced, mechanical. "I've got 3 corporate retreats booked for summer." The waiter approached, and they ordered without much discussion salmon for her, steak for him, a bottle of red wine they both enjoyed. When the waiter left, Killian placed the package on the table. "Happy anniversary." Marley's eyes widened slightly. She picked up the package, unwrapping it carefully. Her fingers traced the spine of the book, a first edition of Sylvia Plath poetry she'd mentioned wanting years ago. Killian, for a moment, genuine surprise crossed her face. "How did you find this?" "I have my ways." He allowed himself a small smile. "Do you like it?" "It's beautiful." She flipped through the pages, then closed the book and set it aside. "Thank you." Killian waited for her to reach into her purse, to produce something in return. When she didn't, he asked, "Did you forget?" "What?" Marley looked up from her wine glass. "Oh, the anniversary." "No, I didn't forget." She reached in her purse and pulled out a small envelope. "Gift card to that outdoor store you like." Killian accepted it with a nod. "Thanks." Their dinner arrived, and conversation dwindled to comments about the food. Killian tried twice to engage Marley about her work, about the marketing campaign she'd been excited about last week, but her answers came in short bursts followed by long silences. "Everything okay at work?" he finally asked. "Fine." Marley pushed her half-eaten salmon around her plate. "Just busy. Bryce has us working overtime on the new client." Bryce. Killian had met her boss, once tall, flashy, with 2 white teeth and a handshake that lacked proper grip. "He works you too hard. He values my contribution." Something in her tone made Killian look up. Her eyes were challenging him. "I value your contribution too," he said carefully. Marley laughed, a sharp sound unlike her usual laugh. "To what?" "Your perfect little life." Killian set down his fork. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing." She drained her wine glass. "Can we go?" They drove home in silence. Killian's mind worked through the evening, analyzing what had gone wrong. By the time they pulled into the driveway of their suburban home, he decided to give her space. Maybe it was work stress. Maybe it was something else. Either way, pushing wouldn't help. Inside, Killian removed his jacket and tie, poured himself a small whiskey, and sat in the living room. Marley disappeared upstairs. 20 minutes later, she came back down wearing a tight black dress he didn't recognize. Her makeup was fresh, dramatic. "Where are you going?" Killian set his glass down. Marley grabbed her keys from the hook by the door. "I had time with you. Now I'm going to have some pleasure for myself." Killian stood up. "It's almost 11. So it's our anniversary, and you're leaving?" Marley sighed dramatically. "What do you want from me, Killian?" "We did dinner. We exchanged gifts. What else?" "Most couples spend the night together." Killian kept his voice even, controlled. "Where are you going?" "Out with friends." "Which friends?" "Does it matter?" She slipped on her heels. "You don't own me." Something cold settled in Killian's stomach. He moved to the door, blocking it with his body. "You're not going anywhere." Marley's eyes narrowed. "Try to stop me. Touch me, and I'll call the cops." They stared at each other. 8 years of marriage, and Killian didn't recognize the woman in front of him. "Move," she said. Killian stepped aside. Marley yanked the door open and walked out. Slamming it behind her, he stood in the silence of their home, listening to her car start and drive away. Then he picked up his phone and called Rory. "Hey, man." His friend answered on the third ring. "Happy anniversary." "How's it going?" "Not good," Killian said. "Can I come over?" "Door's always open. I'll crack a beer." At Rory's bar, closed now to regular customers, Killian sat at the counter and explained the evening's events. "She's never done this before?" Rory asked, leaning against the back counter. "No." Killian stared into his beer. "We've had fights. We've had bad days. But this was different." Rory hesitated. "You think she's seeing someone?" The question hung in the air. Killian had been avoiding it in his mind, but now that Rory said it aloud, pieces clicked into place. The late nights at work, the sudden business trips, the new clothes. "I don't know," Killian finally said, "but I'm going to find out." Rory placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Whatever happens, I've got your back. You know that, right?" Killian nodded. "I know." He stayed at Rory's bar until 2 in the morning, then drove home. Marley's car wasn't in the driveway. Inside, he checked their bedroom, her side of the bed, untouched. He sat on the edge of the bed, a knot forming in his chest. In the Army, Killian had learned to sleep anywhere, anytime. But tonight, sleep wouldn't come. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, waiting for the sound of her car. It never came. Light spilled through the blinds when Killian opened his eyes. He'd finally fallen asleep around dawn. He reached for his phone, 6:47 a.m. No messages from Marley. He went downstairs. Her car still wasn't in the driveway. He made coffee, checked his email, reviewed the day's training schedule. Normal actions that felt anything but normal. At T9:30, his phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, is this Killian Marks?" "Yes. This is Nurses Station at Tacoma General Hospital. We're calling about your wife, Marley Langston Marks." Killian's heart stopped. "What happened? Is she hurt?" "No, sir, but she's been asking for you. She's in the maternity ward." The world tilted. "The what?" "The maternity ward, sir. She went into labor early this morning." Killian sat down hard. "That's impossible. My wife isn't pregnant." Silence on the other end. Then, "Sir, I think you should come in." Killian hung up. His hands were steady as he grabbed his keys and wallet, but his mind churned with confusion and rage. In the truck, he checked his phone. Somehow, he'd missed 156 calls overnight from Marley, from numbers he didn't recognize from the hospital. The drive to Tacoma General took 20 minutes. Killian spent every second of it organizing his thoughts, controlling his breathing, preparing for whatever he was about to face. The maternity ward. A nurse directed him to room 418. He paused outside the door, then pushed it open. Marley lay in a hospital bed, hair matted with sweat, face pale. In her arms was a bundle wrapped in a pink blanket. She looked up when he entered, her expression a mix of exhaustion and fear. "Killian." Her voice was small. He remained in the doorway. "Explain." "I was going to tell you." "When?" His voice was ice. "When exactly were you going to tell me you were pregnant?" "After dinner last night?" "Next week? When the kids started kindergarten?" A tear slid down her cheek. "I was scared." "Of what?" "Of this. The way you're looking at me right now." Killian stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. "How far along were you?" 8 months. The math was simple. 8 months. And you hid it from me for 8 months. I wore loose clothes. Said I was gaining weight from stress. Marley adjusted the bundle in her arms. "I didn't know how to tell you." Killian moved closer to the bed. The baby had a tuft of dark hair, nothing like his blonde or Marley's red. "It's not yours," Marley said quietly. "I can see that." Killian's voice remained steady. "Whose is it?" Marley swallowed. "Bryce's. But it doesn't matter. You're my husband. We're raising her." The audacity of the statement stunned him. Killian stared at his wife, at the stranger in his wife's arms, at the life he thought he knew crumbling around him. "No," he said simply. "Killian, please." "No." He turned toward the door. "I'll pack your things. You can pick them up at Ava's place tomorrow." "You can't do this." Marley's voice rose. "I need you." Killian paused at the door. "You should have thought of that before." He walked out of the hospital room, down the corridor, through the lobby, and into the parking lot. In his truck, he sat with his hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. Then he started the engine and drove to the home he'd shared with Marley for 8 years. It took him 3 hours to pack her clothes, her jewelry, her books, her collection of vinyl records. He worked methodically, without emotion, as if completing a tactical assignment. When everything was boxed, he loaded into his truck and drove to her sister Ava's apartment. Ava opened the door, surprise on her face. "Killian? What?" "Marley's things," he said, gesturing to the boxes. "She'll be staying with you for a while." Ava's expression shifted. "What happened?" "Ask her." He turned to leave. "Killian, wait." Ava grabbed his arm. "I know my sister can be difficult, but she had a baby today," Killian said flatly. "It's not mine." Ava's hand dropped from his arm. "Oh God, you knew she was seeing someone." Ava looked away. "I suspected. She's been different lately. More secretive. I saw her with a man once at a restaurant. She said it was a work thing, but..." Killian nodded once. "Tell her not to call me. My lawyer will be in touch." He returned home, showered, and called Harlan Wade. "I need a divorce lawyer," he told his mentor. "What happened?" Harlan asked. "Marley cheated. Had another man's baby." Silence on the line. "Then, I'll set up a meeting tomorrow. 9 a.m. in my office." "Thank you." Killian hung up, made himself a sandwich he couldn't taste, and sat in his living room as darkness fell. His phone rang repeatedly. Marley. The hospital. Marley again. He ignored them all. When it rang for the 20th time, he answered without checking the ID. "Stop calling." "It's me," Rory said. "Just checking in. You okay?" Killian looked around the empty house. "No. Come over. We'll talk. Not tonight. Tomorrow then. Promise me." "I promise." Killian ended the call and turned off his phone. Then he went upstairs, stripped the sheets from the bed he'd shared with Marley, and slept in the guest room. In the morning, he filed for divorce. 3 weeks after Marley gave birth, Killian saw them together for the first time. He was leaving the grocery store when a black Audi pulled into the parking lot. Bryce stepped out of the driver's side, walked around, and opened the passenger door for Marley. She emerged with the baby carrier in one hand, Bryce's arm around her waist. Killian watched them from his truck. Bryce said something that made Marley laugh, then kissed her in full view of anyone looking. They walked into the store without noticing Killian's vehicle. That evening, Rory found him at the shooting range. "Thought I'd find you here," Rory said, watching Killian reload his Glock. "Bad day." Killian lined up a shot and fired. The paper target tore open its center mass. "Saw them today. Marley and her boss." Rory leaned against the partition. "How'd that go?" "They didn't see me." Killian emptied the magazine, each shot precise. "They looked happy." "You okay?" Killian lowered the gun and removed his ear protection. "I will be." Later, at Rory's bar, Killian nursed a beer while his friend wiped down the counter. "Harlan says the divorce could get complicated," Killian said. "She's making demands." "Like what?" "Alimony. Half the business." Killian took a sip. "She's claiming emotional abuse." Rory stopped wiping. "That's bullshit. It's strategy." Killian's voice was calm. "She needs leverage." "What are you going to do?" "What I was trained to do. Identify the target. Plan the approach. Execute." Rory studied his friend's face. "This isn't a military operation, Kill. Isn't it?" Killian finished his beer. "They're waging war on my life, my reputation, my business. I'm just defending what's mine." The next morning, Killian woke to a text from Ava. Check Facebook. Online, he found Marley's latest post, a photo of her holding the baby, with a long caption about starting over and escaping a difficult situation. The comments were filled with supportive messages, many asking what had happened. Marley had replied to one, "Some men aren't what they seem. My ex-husband was violent, cold, and unstable. I had to protect myself and my daughter." Killian stared at the words, his jaw tight. He took a screenshot, sent it to Harlan, then closed his laptop. His phone rang a client canceling their booking. "Family emergency," they claimed, but Killian heard the hesitation in their voice. Someone had gotten to them. By the end of the week, 3 more clients had canceled. The local news ran a small piece about allegations of abuse against a local business owner. They didn't name him, but in a town the size of Tacoma, people knew. Rory called. "You seen the news?" "Yes. This is getting out of hand." "I know. Killian looked out his window at the rain-slick streets. It's going to get worse before it gets better. What's your plan? I'm still working on it. That night, Killian drove to the outskirts of town to a property he owned that few people knew about. It was 15 acres of woodland with a small cabin, purchased with his army savings as a training ground for his business. Inside the cabin, he pulled out a notebook and began to write. Names, dates, connections, weaknesses. Everything he knew about Marley and Bryce. By morning, he had the outline of a plan. Harlan agreed to meet him for breakfast at a diner outside the city. They're trying to bleed you dry, the older man said, stirring his coffee. Make you desperate enough to settle. I know the tactic. Killian pushed his untouched eggs around his plate. I need information. About Bryce Whitner. What kind of information? Everything. His finances. His past. His wife. Harlan raised an eyebrow. His wife. Marley mentioned once that he was married. Woman named Margot. And she doesn't know about the affair? I don't think so. Harlan sat back, considering. What are you planning, Killian? I'm planning to survive. The older man nodded slowly. I'll see what I can find. But be careful. Don't do anything that could hurt your case. I won't hurt my case, Killian promised. I'm going to win it. Over the next 2 weeks, Killian retreated from public view. He moved his remaining classes to the woodland property, turned down interview requests from local media, and focused on gathering information. Ava texted him regularly, keeping him updated on Marley's movements. They're moving in together, one message read. She's telling everyone he's going to make her a partner at the firm. Another text, a week later. M sent me these by mistake. Thought you should see them. Attached were screenshots of texts between Marley and Bryce, dating back over a year. Plans for meetups. Explicit messages. Discussions about Killian. He's so boring, Marley had written. All he cares about is his stupid survival business. Dump him, Bryce had replied. We'll start over. Just you and me. Killian saved the screenshots, added them to his growing file, and thanked Ava that I'm sorry, she wrote back. I should have told you sooner that you're telling me now, he replied. That matters. The next day, Rory called with news of his own. You know Bryce's wife? Margot? She comes into the bar, sometimes with friends. She was here last night. Did she mention Bryce? No, but her friend did. Said something about what Margot would do if she found out. Bryce's affair isn't as secret as he thinks. Is Margot a regular at your place? Every other Thursday. Ladies' night. Let me know next time she's there. 2 Thursdays later, Rory texted. She's here. Killian arrived at the bar 30 minutes later. He spotted Margot, immediately a slender woman with silver-streaked dark hair, elegant in a simple black dress. She sat with 3 other women, laughing at something one of them said. Rory caught his eye and nodded toward a corner booth. Killian took a seat, ordered a drink, and waited. An hour passed. The women ordered another round. One by one, they left until only Margot remained, checking her watch. Killian stood and approached her table. Mrs. Whitner? She looked up, surprised. Yes, my name is Killian Marks. I was wondering if I could speak with you privately. Recognition dawned in her eyes. You're Marley's ex-husband. I am. Margot studied him, then gestured to the seat across from her. 5 minutes. Killian sat down. Thank you. What do you want, Mr. Marks? If you're here to cause trouble. I'm here because we have something in common, Killian said quietly. We've both been betrayed by the people we trusted. Margot's expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened around her glass. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. Killian placed his phone on the table, screen down. Your husband has been having an affair with my wife for over a year. 3 months ago, she gave birth to a baby girl. Pain flickered across Margot's face before she controlled it. Prove it. Killian turned over his phone. On the screen was a photo of Bryce, Marley, and the baby, taken outside Bryce's office building. There's more. Hospital records, text messages, emails. Margot stared at the image, her face a mask. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know the truth. And that's all? You just want me to know? What you do with the information is up to you. Killian stood up. But I thought you should have all the facts before they try to destroy what's left of my life. He placed a thumb drive on the table. Everything I have is on there. My number is 2, if you have questions. Margot didn't touch the drive. Does she have a name? The baby. Lily, Killian said. They named her Lily. Something hard flashed in Margot's eyes. Thank you for the information, Mr. Marks. You're welcome, Mrs. Whitner. As he turned to leave, she said, Mr. Marks? He looked back. Let me handle my husband. 3 days later, Bryce Whitner was called to an emergency board meeting at his firm. According to Rory, who heard it from a bartender friend who served drinks at the company's holiday parties, Margot Whitner walked into that meeting with a file of evidence and an ultimatum by the end of the day, Bryce was removed as CEO, pending an ethics investigation. By the end of the week, Margot had filed for divorce and frozen their joint assets. Marley showed up at Killian's door the following Monday, the baby in her arms. You did this, she said as soon as he opened the door. You ruined everything. Killian stood in the doorway, blocking entry. I told the truth. You had no right. Tears streaked her makeup. Bryce lost everything. We have nowhere to go. That sounds like a you problem. Killian, please. Marley shifted the baby in her arms. I made a mistake. I know that. But we can fix this. We can start over. There is no we anymore. You can't mean that. 8 years of marriage. 8 years you threw away. Killian's voice remained calm. Go back to your sisters. Or find someone else to manipulate. It won't be me. I'll tell everyone you hit me. Marley hissed, desperation in her eyes. I'll say you threatened the baby. No one will believe you. They already do. Look at your business, Killian. Your reputation. I've already won. Killian smiled, a cold expression that made Marley step back. You haven't won anything, Marley. The war is just beginning. He closed the door in her face. 1 month after his confrontation with Marley, Killian sat in Harlan's office, reviewing documents. The hearing is next week, Harlan said, tapping a file. We're in good shape. What about Marley's claims? Without evidence, they're just words. Harlan leaned back in his chair. And we have something she doesn't. What's that? The truth. Harlan handed him a memory stick. And this. Killian took it. What's on it? A video. Ava found it on Marley's cloud account. You should watch it. Killian plugged the stick into Harlan's computer. A video played. Marley, laughing with someone off camera. Her voice was clear. He has no idea. My dumb ex-soldier husband thinks I'm working late. As if anyone works until midnight every Tuesday. More laughter. He's useful, though. So stable. So predictable. Like living with a very attractive bank vault. Killian's face remained impassive as he watched. When was this recorded? Last year. October. 6 months before the baby was born. While they were still married. While he was still believing in their life together. Can we use this? Killian asked. Legally, yes. But I'd advise caution. It's powerful material. I want everyone to see it. Harlan nodded slowly. I'll make it happen. 2 days later, the video appeared online. It spread quickly through Tacoma's social circles, then wider as local news picked it up. Public opinion, which had been divided, shifted sharply. Marley tried to claim the video was edited, taken out of context. But her words were clear, her face recognizable. The damage was done. Bryce, fighting his own legal battles with Margot, stopped taking Marley's calls. According to Ava, he'd moved out of state, leaving Marley to deal with the fallout alone. The day before the divorce hearing, Killian received a call from an unknown number. Is this Killian Marks? A man's voice, unfamiliar. Yes. This is Jackson Reed, Bryce Whitner's attorney. Mr. Whitner has information you might find valuable regarding your divorce proceedings. What kind of information? Video evidence that contradicts your claims. Mr. Whitner is willing to suppress this evidence in exchange for your dropping all countersuits against him and Mrs. Langston Marks. Killian's mind raced. What video? Footage showing you threatening Mrs. Langston Marks. It corroborates her claims of abuse. No such footage exists. Mr. Whitner disagrees. The offer stands until noon tomorrow. The call ended. Killian immediately phoned Harlan. They're bluffing, Harlan said after Killian explained. Or they created fake evidence. Either way, they're desperate. Very. Which means we're winning. The next morning, Killian arrived at the courthouse early. Harlan met him on the steps, briefcase in hand. Ready? The older man asked. Ready. Inside, Marley sat with her attorney, a thin man with nervous hands. She didn't look at Killian when he entered. Bryce was nowhere to be seen. The judge called the court to order. Marley's attorney spoke first, repeating her claims of emotional abuse, demanding alimony and half of Killian's business. Then he produced a thumb drive. "Your Honor, we have video evidence supporting our client's claims." Harlan stood. "Your Honor, we object to the introduction of this evidence, which was not disclosed during discovery. We only recently obtained it," Marley's attorney argued. The judge frowned. "I'll allow it, but I expect an explanation for the late disclosure." The video played on the courtroom monitor. It showed Killian and Marley arguing in their kitchen. Killian's voice was raised, his body language aggressive as he pointed at her. "You think you can leave me? Try it. See what happens." Marley cowered against the counter. "Please, Killian, you're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared." The video ended. Marley's attorney looked smug. "As you can see, Your Honor, Mr. Marks has a history of threatening behavior." Harlan stood again. "Your Honor, my client denies the authenticity of this video. We believe it has been doctored." "That's a serious accusation," the judge said. "One we're prepared to prove." Harlan nodded to Killian, who handed him a folder. "We had a digital forensics expert analyze the video. His report confirms that the audio has been spliced from multiple recordings and the video has been altered." Harlan submitted the report, along with still frames showing inconsistencies in lighting and shadows. Furthermore, Harlan continued, "We have the original footage from Mrs. Langston Marks' home security system, which shows a very different conversation." He played another video. The same kitchen, the same date, but a calm discussion about house repairs. No pointing, no threats. "Your Honor," Harlan concluded, "we move to dismiss Mrs. Langston Marks' claims of abuse and request sanctions for attempting to introduce fraudulent evidence." The judge reviewed both videos, then the forensics report. "The motion is granted." "Mrs. Langston Marks, I am deeply troubled by this attempt to mislead the court." Marley's face drained of color. Her attorney whispered urgently in her ear. "Your Honor," the attorney said, "my client wishes to revise her position and seek an expedited resolution." "I'll bet she does," the judge replied dryly. "Let's proceed with Mr. Marks' countersuit." By the end of the day, Killian had been granted a complete divorce with no alimony obligations. Additionally, the judge awarded him damages for defamation and business losses caused by Marley's false claims. Outside the courthouse, Marley caught up to him on the steps. "Killian, wait." He turned, his face expressionless. "It's not over," she said, desperation in her voice. "I know Lily is yours. I'm requesting a DNA test." "Go ahead. When it proves she's yours, you'll have to take responsibility." "Marley," Killian said quietly, "we both know that child isn't mine." "You don't know that. We were together around the time." "File for the test. I have nothing to hide." 2 weeks later, they returned to court for the results. Marley looked confident as the judge opened the envelope. "The test confirms that Mr. Marks is not the father of the minor child, Lily Langston," the judge announced. Marley nodded. "We expected that. We're asking for a comparison with Bryce Whitner's DNA." That test was also conducted, the judge continued. "Mr. Whitner is not the father either." The courtroom fell silent. Marley's face went slack with shock. "That's impossible." "The testing was thorough," the judge said. "Neither man is the biological father of your child." Marley sank into her chair, her body trembling. Her attorney looked as stunned as she was. Killian watched her crumble without satisfaction or pity. Just the calm certainty that justice had finally arrived. Outside, reporters waited for a statement. Killian walked past them without comment, climbed into his truck, and drove away. 6 months later, Killian stood on a mountain ridge, watching his students set up camp below. 20 people had signed up for this advanced wilderness survival course, his largest group yet. Word had spread about the quality of his training, his attention to detail, his uncompromising standards. His business had not only recovered, but grown. With Rory's help, he'd opened a second location across town, and they were discussing a third in Olympia. Ava had joined the company too, handling public relations and marketing. Her loyalty during the darkest days had earned her more than a job. It had earned her Killian's trust, something he no longer gave easily. As the sun began to set, Killian pulled out his phone and checked his messages. One from Rory about equipment deliveries. One from Harlan about a potential corporate client. And one from an unknown number that he opened it. A photo of a mountain sunrise, followed by a message. Thanks for waking me up. I built something better from the rubble. I hope you do too. M. Margot Whitner. According to Rory's sources, she'd taken control of Bryce's company after the divorce, transformed it, and doubled its value in 6 months. Killian saved the photo but didn't reply. Some acknowledgments needed no response. He pocketed his phone and looked out over the valley, at the fading light painting the trees gold and red. Darkness would come soon, but he wasn't afraid of it. He knew how to navigate in darkness. He knew how to build fire from nothing, that he knew how to survive. One of his students, a young woman with determined eyes, approached him. Mr. Marks? We're ready for the next lesson. Killian nodded. Let's begin.